All right, welcome back. Today we're gonna cover some algebra still, but this time we're gonna get a little more complex. By what I mean of complex, I mean we're just gonna start using multiplication. Still the same thing, but this time we should have an extra step to do. All right, let's do this. Let's see. Let's do negative 36 equals 6 times 2 minus 8. All right. What I want you guys to remember is something called PEMDAS. I'll write it out. PEMDAS. PEMDAS basically means P for parentheses, E for exponents, M for multiplication, D for division, A for addition, S for subtraction. The way PEMDAS works is that you want to do when solving a math problem, you want to start from parentheses and go down the list. So first you do parentheses, then you do exponents, then you do multiplication, then you do division, then you do addition, then you do subtraction. That's the proper way to solve a math problem. So let's try it out here. So we notice parentheses. Okay, can we combine these terms? No, because they're not like terms. So we go to exponents. Are there any exponents? No, there's no exponents. Multiplication. Yep, the 6 is being multiplied into the 2 minus 8n. We can do that. Let's do this. Equals. Now the way you multiply this is that you want to multiply the 6 by the 2, and then you multiply the 6 by the 8n. So 6 times 2, that's just 12. Minus, now 6 times 8. What could that be? So the way I like thinking about it, I like thinking about a quick simple number like 6 times 6. That's 36. So there's so then if we add 6 again, it'll be 42. So that is 6 times 7. And then if we add a 6 to 42, we get 48. That is 6 times 8. So then we get negative 48 n. Cool. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna subtract 12 by both sides because I want n by itself. So we subtract 12. This goes away, and then we have negative 48 equals negative 48 n. Now we divide by 48 because we want it by itself. A way to write division is just do like a horizontal line over the number and put the number on it below it. Then we just do this. Divide by 48. And then we get negative 48, by the way. Forgot about that. The reason I want to do negative 48 is because I want n. So when I say I want n, that means I want positive n. I don't want negative n, I want positive n. We get negative 48 on both sides, then we get 1 equals n. Cool. First problem done. Just erase all this. Let's keep this in here. Okay, let's do this problem right here. So it's gonna be negative 6 plus 5 times negative 1 minus b equals 9 Team. Cool. Okay. So first, I want you guys to think about what should you do first. You might think to start adding these two numbers over here, the like terms, -6 and 5, but we cannot do that. And the reason why is because this 5 is technically being multiplied to this parentheses. So, and we so we see by PEMDAS that multiplication is before addition. So we gotta multiply this first. Let's do that. So we do -6 plus, so do 5 times -1. That becomes -5 now, minus 5b equals 19. Cool. Now we can add like terms. So -6 minus 5, that becomes -11 minus 5b equals 19. I want to get b by itself, so I'm going to add 11 to both sides. That will give me -5b equals 30. Cool. And if I want b by itself, what should I do? I should divide by the number in front of b. So the number in front of b is -5, so I'm going to divide -5 to both sides. Then that gives us b because these cancel out. And 30 over 5, well, that's just the same as the, so that's the same as dividing 30 divided by 5. So we know, if we know 5 times 5 is 25, and we add another 5 to get 30, then we know b equals 6 or -6 for this. B is negative. Cool. This is a little trickier one. Let's see, which one is the good one? This is a trick question right here. You might get this on your test, you might not, but I feel like it's still good to know, just to catch it on. Six times k minus 7 plus 6 times k plus 5. So the way I like to do these problems, so I like to break them up into chunks. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna break this into a chunk, and I'll break right here. Cool. So I only worry about one section at a time, so I don't get lost. So to do 73 equals, okay, now let's think about this. -6 times k, well that's just -6k. -6 times 7, well we know that to be 42 because 6 times 6 is 36 plus 6 is 42, and that makes this to be 7, 6 is 42. So we do 42 plus 6 times k, that's just 6k, plus 6 times 5 is just 30. So you might notice something about this problem. You notice that the 6k's cancel out. 6 plus 6k, that becomes 0. So then you get 73, and negative 42 plus 30, you get negative 12. And we see that's not right. 73 is not equal to 12. So then what you actually get is called no solution. You might get this in some of your problems. You might not, but it's good to know. If you see that your constant variables like k, x, y, whatever, etc., whatever it is, cancel out, then you most likely have a no solution problem. Cool. All right. Let's do. Hmm, let's do this one. Okay, cool. 7 times 1. Write that better. Times 1 plus 5n plus 6 times 1 plus 4n equals 13. So, like we did in the previous problem, let's break down the chunks. Okay, cool. 7 times 1 is 7. We know 7 times 5 to be 35 because 6 times 5 is 30, so plus 5 is 35. Yeah, 35n plus 6 times 1. Well, that's just 6 plus 4n. We know that to be 24 equals 13. Okay, let's combine like terms now. 7 plus 6, that gives us 13. Then now we're done with these ones. Now we do 35 plus 24. That gives us 59n. Excuse me. Equals 13. We subtract 13 from both sides. These cancel out. And then we get 59 and equals 0. Now you might think it's a no solution problem, and you'd be wrong. The answer is n equals 0. The reason why the answer is n equals 0 is because any number divided or multiplied by n will always be 0. So we can just say 59 divided by 0. 59 divided by 59, well, it's just 1, and there's n. And 0 divided by 59 is 0. So there you go. Let's do one more. I don't know what's happening. Okay, let's do 2 times x plus 8 equals -3 times x plus 3. So now, the way to go about this is just multiplying it out first. So 2 times x, well, we know that to be 2x. 2 times 8, well, we know that to be 16. Positive 16, of course. Now we do -3 times x, that is just -3x. -3 times 3, that's just -9. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And the reason why I'm adding 3x and not subtracting by 2x is because I want x. And it's simpler to add 3x because then I get x at the end. Remember, I do not want negative x, I want x. So these cancel out and then we get 5x plus 16 equals -9. We subtract 16 by both sides because I want the x component to be by itself. And then we get 5x equals, so we do, so -9 minus 16, that equals -25. And at the end, if I want x by itself, I divide it by the number in front of x to both sides. Then we get x equals, well, 25. Well, so what's 5 times 5? That's 5. So same thing with this. 25 divided by 5 is just 5. And remember, you cannot forget the negative sign. So it'll be -5. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.